Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Sports Saviors. It is April 13th, Saturday night. We got a special episode coming out a little later than normal, but it's going to be coming out. We got our NFL draft preview today, Lee. You
Yeah,
excited?
yeah, I'm ready. We got the NFL draft here in a couple of weeks. I'm ready to go.
Before we get started on that, I heard you had two shout outs. So give me one now and then give me one at the end of this. Give me the first shout out here.
I'll give you the first shout out right now. We got the NBA playoffs. The regular season is about to end here in a couple days, and we're going to hit the playoffs here getting started up. Got to give a shout out to the whole NBA and see what's going to happen. Do you have any thoughts? I don't know if you've been watching any much of the NBA, of how the finals may go. You have any picks this year?
Sadly, I've been lackluster on it, which sucks because I've been like a Mavs fan and they're doing well this year.
Yeah.
I haven't been really following them as well as I should be. I know it's gonna be fun. Thunder is up there. I think that's one of the teams I don't expect much from. I'm just thinking of some frauds right now. Even though they had a strong season, that's one team I'm not looking at as a real contender. There's gonna be some fun playing games too at this point, don't you think? There's gonna be some of these teams that are gonna be there have shots at actually making runs if they can get into the real finals.
With the new play-in tournament that they have, it's going to be interesting to see who are going to be the 7 and 8 seeds for these the Eastern and Western Conference. So we'll have a couple pre-games of that, and then we'll get to the regular playoffs, for the NBA. So that's going to be starting up here in a couple weeks. So excited! Yay!
To give my pick, though, I'll go Denver. I think they'll repeat. I think that they are the best team, so I'm gonna go with them. I know Boston's had a great year, but I'll go Denver.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think Denver may repeat. They just have such a well-rounded team, and Nikola might be back-to-back MVPs as well. I mean, he's just having an amazing season. So it'll be exciting to see how the NBA season goes for the playoffs.
But let's get to our main event for today. We talked about it last week, but now it's time. Let's get into this NFL draft preview. Just to give a recap, the first night of the draft is Thursday, April 25th. It'll go. Then we'll have the 26th, 27th to finish it out. So that's a week and a half away at this point, I'd say, right? Yeah. And then here are the Steeler picks. They got the 20th overall pick. They got a 51st overall. 2 third-rounders, 84th and 98th, a 4th-rounder at 119, then 2 6th-rounders at 178 and 195. And then last week we also spoke about the 5 positional needs that we saw for the Steelers, and we talked about it as center, wide receiver, offensive tackle, defensive tackle, and it's defensive back there, but we're going to focus on cornerbacks today. Anything you want to add before we start on? Just going position by position here.
No, I mean, I think these are the definitely the top 5 positions that we talked about. What was also interesting was that we also talked about maybe a possible tight end, but it looks like they might have picked somebody up during this offseason as well. So they're still making moves. But definitely these are the 5 positions that I think are key right now for the Steelers move forward. I mean, they've made some amazing moves already, but these are the big 5 right here that we definitely need to pick up during this draft.
Yeah, I'm going to make the prediction. I'm going to confidently say it. Which means that it's going to go the opposite way, obviously. But I'm confidently going to say one of the names we talk about today, and it's only from these 5 position groups, will be the first pick in the draft for the Steelers in the first round. If they make their first round, if they don't trade back or whatever. But even if they trade back, whoever they take first in this draft will be on this list today. That is my guarantee for you guys here.
Yeah, I am in agreement with you on that. I really do. I think of the players that we're going to discuss, I think for sure, they're one of these guys are definitely being drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers this year.
So let's start off. We're going to start off with the center position, and the way I think we can look at this, we're going to go through these. I'm going to throw some names out there of top round options, some mid round options, and then we're going to each pick a guy who we think is fits into one of those suits, and who's going to be the guy that the Steelers might take in these different scenarios. If they take this position at center, they go wherever we go. So for center, I pointed out 3 guys to focus on for top round options. That's Graham Barton from Duke, Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, and Zach Frazier from West Virginia. Just to clarify what I was just saying, we're saying who we would take more than we're predicting what we think the Steelers would take. Is the way to do it. And Lee was unfortunately Lee was not here when I did my pick, so he's got the he had to pick who I didn't pick. I got first option on all these picks, and then he had to bounce off of what I did. But then mid-round options, we have Tanner Bortolini, Wisconsin, Cedric Van Brand Granger out of Georgia, Bo Limmer out of Arkansas, and Hunter Norzad out of Penn State. So Lee, let's start with our top round options. I'll let you go first on centers here. I'm going to go to the next slide for you. And who did you have as a top round option at center for the Steelers at the center position?
Yeah, I from what the list I saw and going through it, I picked Jackson Power Johnson out of Oregon. He's graded right now between first and second round pick as like 23rd overall. He's got a good bit of experience. He's played, he played 46 games as a starter. I saw that he's able to play both center and guard, and so if he needs to be shifted around, he can definitely be able to be volatile and versatile to play different positions. But I think he'll probably be a potential center. I also saw, which is interesting, that he allowed 0 sacks and only 1 pressure last year in his last season at Oregon. So he definitely looks like a great prospect for the Steelers to pick up. We definitely had a lot of issues with our center, with Mason Cole, who's no longer on the team anymore. But with somebody that can snap the ball like this and not be able to really give up too many sacks or pressures like that, I mean, I think it's a great positional player to pick up for the Steelers. We definitely need it. The offensive line hasn't been that great over the past couple of years, so to get an elite player like this, I think this would be great for the Steelers to pick up.
So I like him a lot myself too. My thing is, I think you got to go first round with him if you grab him. I don't think he's gonna fall to that next pick they got.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna grab him, I think you're gonna have to grab him at 20. Are you cool with doing that there? And that's it. Obviously, every answer here is gonna be it all depends on who else is available. But you're comfortable with if he's that pick at 20, right?
Yeah, I think if he's available, I think you take it. Like you said, depending on who are the best players available at that time, but. I think this would be a great first-round pick for the Steelers. I mean, it would definitely, let the league know where the Steelers, the Steelers are, coming out to play, and that they're really ready to make some moves, like Mike Tomlin said, to get some players that they really need, positional players. And I think this would be a great pickup in the first round to draft the center.
So the guy I went with is, as a pitch fan, my first pick's a West Virginia guy, but Zach Frazier. With him, I'm not willing to take him at 20. So he's graded out as a second round guy, which is still 34th overall. According all these rankings are from Dane Brugler's The Beast that's published on Athletic. You can see I got that scrolling across the bottom for anyone that's interested in checking that out. I would definitely recommend it. You can probably get the Athletic for $1 a month right now. They always have sales going. So if you're interested in the draft, it's his coverage will be way better than our coverage.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Go there for it. It's 364 pages long, what he did. But he has him graded out as a second round talent, but a 34th overall. Like I said, I don't think we should take him at 20, the Steelers. So I don't know if that would be trading down in the first or trading up in the second. But if he's our guy, and he is the guy of the 3 that I saw that I'd be most interested in taking would be him. I like that his experience is all at center pretty much. He had 46 starts at center.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing to have there. I think he's a guy that might be able to plug and play-ish kind of deal more than these other guys. I think Jackson Power Johnson had a lot of time at other positions and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But let's go to the I think I said mid-round options for this. Yeah, let's go to mid-round options. I'll go first here, and I'll go with Cedric Van Braun Granger out of Georgia. He's got a grade of a 3rd or 4th rounder. I don't think he's going to last that long, just based off of his name's been out there a lot. So if you get him, you may have to reach him. You may have to get him with that first pick in the third round. I think that's the case. Maybe you get lucky that isn't the case. I could be wrong there. But I think you're going to have to get him with that 80th overall pick, maybe even in the second round if you miss on a center in the first, or maybe he's the guy to go if he's the only one available. But he's got a ton of experience, and it's at a big program in Georgia. He's won 2 national titles, 44 starts at center. And as Dane Brugler said, he's equipped to compete for immediate starting reps in the right situation. And I think the Steelers, with the problems they've had center, is the epitome of a right situation for this guy.
Yeah.
But who'd you have here?
Yeah, I picked Tanner Bortolini out of Wisconsin. I'm in agreement with you. Depending on where he's at, I don't know if he's going to last that long. They have him graded at 3rd and 4th round as well. He had a 3-year starter at Wisconsin. At the combine, he actually broke Jason Kelsey's record with the best 3-cone drill,
Nice.
16 seconds. So he's definitely able to move around and be able to be a great center if he can be in the league. Like you said, depending on where players are at in the 1st or 2nd round, I mean, this is another guy I feel as though that the Steelers could possibly pick up as well, if need be, because again, center is very important in the league, and you definitely need somebody that's going to be able to block and snap the ball and be able to know the play count and things like that. So I see this guy as definitely a potential underrated game changer that the Steelers could pick up if no one is available in the 1st or 2nd round.
Yeah, I do like the experience there too. I think we're going to say that a lot, especially with these mid-round options. For me, when you're looking in these rounds here, getting a guy who has experience, especially on like levels like Wisconsin and Georgia, I think there's value to that. And those are the kinds of guys I'm willing to take a risk on, especially on the line compared to some other guys. Maybe there's a guy who's an athletic freak that you think, oh yeah, maybe let's go for this guy because that's something impressive. But for me, I think on the lines, you want to have someone with experience, and those where you can find some gems that can prove themselves and become starters in this league, even the mid-round options like this one here.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's shift over. Let's go to offensive tackles here. There's a good bit of names on this list. 1st-round options, I have J.C. Latham out of Alabama. I'm gonna screw all these names up, so don't even wait for something good. Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State, Marius Mims out of Georgia, Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, and then Kingsley Suamataia out of BYU. I just run right through it. And then here's some day 2 options we got here on the other side. Patrick Paul out of Houston, Brandon Coleman from TCU, Roger Rosengarten out of Washington, Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame, and Karen Amagaji. I'm going to say Amagaji for the rest of this time out of Yale. Let's I'll go first on the offensive tackles for 1st-round options. I went with Amarius Mims. He's got a grade of 1st round, 19th overall. I love his size. He's huge. The big flaw I've seen, the big concern is his lack of experience. He only has 8 career starts. He got into a bunch of other games, but I'm assuming that's like once Georgia takes the lead, he's just thrown in there to get some reps and all that stuff like that. But when he's been available, he's performed amazing. 0 sacks allowed in his 8 starts.
Wow.
And this second one, especially as a Steeler fan, wasn't flagged for holding or a false start in his entire college career.
Yeah.
So that's something to like. This name you're about to throw out there, I think he is the better talent. Go for it. What do you got for your offensive tackle?
Yeah, I went with J.C. Latham out of Alabama. I mean, when you think of a lot of college players, Alabama has definitely been arguably one of the the best teams under Nick Saban. I mean, who's now retired, but he definitely recruited a lot of the I would say a lot of the top elite players for college, and he's graded in the 1st round at number 13 overall. I don't know if he would even be there for the Steelers at that time, but even if he's available, maybe the Steelers could draft up for him. I think it'd be a great pickup. He was a 2-year starter at Alabama. he was durable and didn't miss any games in the 3 years that he did play in Alabama, and played a total of 1,749 snaps. So I think that's a great career he had in college. And they also noted that he's definitely probably one of the strongest players in this draft class. So he definitely put on a performance at the combine. So if he's available, maybe the Steelers, I could see them drafting up for him. I think this would be a great pickup. For the team. It depends on how long he's going to even be there. He could go in the first 10 picks, so but I definitely think he is one of the elite, definitely first, college players in the draft that, maybe the Steelers could definitely look at picking up.
Yeah, if either of these two guys are available, I think looking at all the stuff we did, looking at the research I did for this podcast today, you got to take one of these guys. I think.
Yeah.
They're both solid players, more than solid players. I think they're both going to be starters in the league, and hopefully early on, if you're a Steeler fan, I guess with Dan Moore, you can still work with him and Broderick Jones for a little bit. So I guess immediate impact isn't 100% necessary, but I do think we as Steeler fans, we want an upgrade on that tackle spot.
I definitely agree with that.
So let's move on to mid-round options. I'm gonna let you go first on this one here. Go on and take it.
Yeah, I went on with Blake Fisher from Notre Dame. Again, Notre Dame's another one of those arguably great schools that that has a lot of great players. Mm-hmm. They have him graded in the third round, number 73 overall. I think this could be a good third round pick for the Steelers if he's available. Mm-hmm. He did miss a lot of his freshman season, but he played 26 games to finish his college career. So I think he definitely has some, longevity to be able to play, consecutive games. And they have him as definitely one of the bigger players in the draft, has a lot of large arm length, and he's definitely, big and wide. He's light on the feet, and able to shuffle around with his movements. So I think if he's available in the third round, if the Steelers weren't able to get any of those first round picks that we just talked about, I think this would be a great pickup in the third round with one of those. I think you said we have 2 picks in the third round. I think this would be a great pickup for one of the Steelers, to pick up in the third round if he's available.
Yeah, I do like the idea of 26 straight starts to finish his career. And Notre Dame, they play some Big Ten schools, they play some Southern schools. So he's got the opportunity to probably face a lot of guys that will show him a lot of different looks, speed guys, power guys throughout his career. So that is a name I think you look at in the mid rounds here, the day 2 picks. I went with more of the project here. I went with Karen Amagaji out of Yale. He's currently got a grade of third round, 87th overall. And I wrote here, I would love to take him with either that 84th or that 98th pick.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't get a tackle beforehand. I think you got to do it. He did miss the final 6 games of his career with an injury. And as I said, he is a project here. He didn't start playing football through until midway through his high school career. But I see that as a positive. And then he'll likely begin as a backup. But like I mentioned a second ago, this does give Dan Moore and Broderick Jones another year to prove themselves. So, that's how I look at there. I like the idea of a guy who maybe you're going to mold him some more. Even he was at Yale. Obviously, he's got to be a smart guy if he went to Yale, right? And then
exactly.
But it also he may not have not gotten the same level of teaching that some of these big time schools have in the offensive line rooms. So there's something to play with there. There's some clay to mold. And I think that'd be an interesting guy to pick up there.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, so let's move on. We're going to wide receivers next. There are a ton of names on this list.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it's worth saying all of them, but just so if people want to look at them real quick, we can just go and talk about. I think this is the deepest position in this draft. I put top round options, but I left off a bunch of names at the beginning that I don't think would be available for the Steelers at 20 or guys that I don't think they would pick. At least I think 4 names that I left off this list completely on the top end. And then these late round guys, I put up what we have on late round. There's 7 guys right there. There was another 15 guys that probably were willing. I'd be willing to put on this list, but I had to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'll go first with my top round option. I went with Keon Coleman out of Florida State. He's currently has a grade of a second round. I think Keon Coleman's my guy. Who did you pick out of the top round options at receiver?
Yeah, I went with, and I might butcher this, but Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. Texas definitely had a great season this past college season. He's graded first or, through the first or second round, number 33 overall. Again, the Steelers, one of the better teams when it goes to drafting wide receivers. And I don't think I agree with you. I don't think it should, a wide receiver, should be somebody that they pick in the first round. I think, definitely second or later on. I mean, the Steelers, even with all the names that that were on that list in that article, I think the Steelers could definitely draft somebody great. But I think this would be one of my top round options to pick. He led the Big 12 in touchdowns in 2023 this past season. He's a very long, limber, and loose athlete and able to, have a quick acceleration to be able to get to his top speed. So, the Steelers are great with picking fast receivers and, receivers that can definitely make a lot of plays. I mean, you could look at the history of the Steelers and the wide receivers that they have drafted and who has played for that team. So, even if they don't get, somebody like him in the second, round or third round, I definitely think the Steelers will definitely be able to pick somebody up later on.
Yeah, like I was just saying about the depth. I think this is a position, and given the Steelers' history, I just, if they get a first round receiver here, unless it's a guy who really falls, but then you got to ask why he fell. I think you got to skip on a first round receiver here. So let's move to these other options later on in the draft. I went with Jalen McMillan out of Washington. He's at a third to fourth round grade. Another guy where you might have to reach for him because I think he's a 3-year starter. He ended up his career with over 2,000 yards, 17 TDs. He missed the last few games of this year with a knee injury. Maybe that's why he's here in a third, fourth round pick. Because I thought when I hear the name, I'm thinking he's a little bit higher. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I've been missing out. Maybe it's also because of the thing I have there at the bottom. And Lee, I know you hate the drop, so he does have drop issues in college. Hopefully that's something you can figure out, but who knows for sure what's there. He also is a guy who does play mostly out of the slot. He can fill in for what you're losing with Deontay Johnson. I think there's something there for that. You can play him a little bit around. But yeah, I went with Jalen McMillan out of Washington as my mid-round option at receiver. What do you got here for us, Lee?
Yeah, I got Xavier Leggett out of South Carolina, who's graded in the third round, which, again, I think would be a great pickup for the Steelers in the third round with one of those two picks if, he's available. He's a 4-year starter at South Carolina, and he led all Power 5 receivers with receptions of 50-plus yards last season. So definitely somebody that can get the ball and make some plays deep or, a lot of, yards after the catch. He had a career year last year with being the second person to surpass 1,200 receiving yards for the school, behind Alshon Jeffrey, who's a starter, who was a starter at one point in the NFL, so is a name that people know. So, I think this could be definitely a nice pickup for the Steelers. Again, like you just said, I think this is definitely the biggest step for this year, wide receiver wise. With a lot of players being available in this draft pick. And again, the Steelers are great with picking wide receivers. So, even if any of these guys aren't available, I know the Steelers will definitely be able to pick somebody up because they do their research and, and they're able to get the right guys that they need for the team.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I honestly have full confidence in them finding a receiver in the draft. And I look forward to seeing who it is. I know they'll be doing their homework. I don't think it needs to be a first or second round guy. You got 2 picks in that third round. Maybe you got to use one of those. The 80, I think it's 84 and 98. I think that's what we're at. Those are the picks there. Get someone there. If you don't get someone there, you got a guy in the fourth. I'm even happy there. I trust the process, and I think they'll find a good receiver there.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
Moving on, we got interior defensive linemen, defensive tackles, whatever you want to call them here. Some top round options. Byron Murphy out of Texas, Johnny Newton out of Illinois, and Chris Jenkins out of Michigan. And then for day 2 options, I don't know why I'm putting myself through this torture of trying to pronounce these names, but we got Ruki Ahora out of Clemson, Mike Hall Jr. out of Ohio State, Mason Smith out of LSU, Braden Fisk out of Florida State, Brandon Dorless out of Oregon, and Makai Wingo. I'm sorry, I forgot to put your college on this list. I want to say it's LSU. I'm pretty sure it's LSU. If it's not LSU, congratulations. You're a Tiger now. Go Tigers. I'm going to let you go first here.
Right.
The top round options. Who'd you grab? Who are you picking for the Steelers?
Yeah, I went with Byron Murphy, the second out of Texas, another Texas guy. Again, Texas had a great team this year. He's graded in the first round at number 16. I don't know if he'll be up there that long, to be honest. I think this is a guy that'll be picked early. He was a 1-year starter at Texas. He's a very versatile player where he's able to actually
2 touchdowns. Yeah.
He's able to score, on the offensive side like a TJ Watt, rushing touchdown or receiving touchdown. So definitely something maybe if he's available, if the Steelers are able with Arthur Smith have any trick plays, if they get a guy like this, to make some trick plays down near the goal line. He comes off the ball low and strong, and he's a very power pack first step athlete. So I think that this is definitely a great round, first round pick, that the Steelers could go for. Again, I don't think he's going to be available, but he's definitely a top round option for the Steelers.
I went with Johnny Newton. He's out of Illinois. Apologies to Illinois for not putting them on there. I got a little lazy there, I think, but he's graded out as a first or second round pick, 28th overall. He's undersized, as they say, but when you think of undersized, you think of a Pitt defensive tackle. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that name. I'm going to go Kalijah Kancey instead, who had a great year this year for Tampa Bay. We're going Kalijah Kancey. We're never comparing anyone to Aaron Donald on this podcast. You do it. I'll find a new co-host. I'll find a new podcast because there's no one to compare to Aaron Donald just because they're undersized. But I went with Kalijah Kancey as a comparison here. He's got a ton of experience, 37 career starts, 45 games total. Tons of production, 17.5 career sacks, 28 tackles for losses, tons of accolades. First team All-American, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and he's a team captain. He's my guy. I was like, we don't need a defensive tackle in the first round, but then I read his little write-up for Johnny Newton, and it was something. Was like, this might be a guy where at 20 even – you're getting a guy who's going to be an impactful player from the beginning of his career. I hope was that a good pitch for him? Did you like my pitch for Johnny Newton?
That was great. I thought that was perfect. No, I thought that was great. Yeah, I liked everything about it. Yeah, that was great.
Next up, we got the mid-round options. I'll go here. Braden Fisk out of Florida was my guy. He's graded third-round guy, 71 overall. He's a super senior. He actually began his career at Western Michigan before being a grad transfer to FSU. He had solid production just like Newton before him. 19.5 career sacks, 36.5 tackles for loss. I see him as a guy who would be more of a depth piece, a rotational piece. But I like the fact that we've already seen him jump from Western Michigan to FSU. That's a jump up from Group of 5 to Power 5, where he still held his own. He was still a good player for Florida State last year. So that shows me something. And it shows me maybe there's adversity that he was able to overcome there, that he'll be able to take this jump to the NFL too. That's my guy, though, Braden Fisk.
Yeah, and I went with Mike Hall Jr. at Ohio State. Okay. And, Ohio State is definitely one of those acclaimed schools that has a lot of great players that come out of. He was graded in the second and third round, number 60 overall. He was a 2-year starter at Ohio State. I think if he's available in the third round, I think this could be a great pickup in that third round pick for the Steelers. His pass rush win rate was the second best in college at 18.3%, only behind Byron Murphy, the second, the guy I picked for a first round option. So I definitely think he could be a mid round option for the Steelers to pick up. for the position. So if he's available, I think the Steelers should look at maybe picking this guy up.
Yeah, it sounds like a good name there too. We got a couple more positions here. Next up, we have our we're on our last one. Wow, we've been zooming through this. Our last one here. It's the cornerback position here. We got 5 top round options I threw out here. Nate Wiggins out of Clemson, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. Mike, why did I say all these names? Senior School, Michigan. Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri. Those are our top round options. And then day 2 options, we got TJ Tampa, great name from Iowa State. Yeah. Andrew Phillips from Penn State. Kamari Lassiter of Georgia. Max Melton, Rutgers. I like that name too. DJ James, Auburn. Those are all fun names that you want to, when you get a draft pick and you hear his name is TJ Tampa. I don't know what round it is. I'm going to be excited for a TJ Tampa.
Exactly.
I will throw you out. Who was the top round option that you went with?
Yeah, another cool name, Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. Again, Alabama's definitely one of those top elite schools. He was graded in the first or second round at 30 overall. I don't know if the Steelers want to, maybe if he's available in the second round, I think it'd be a great pickup for the Steelers for a cornerback. Is definitely somebody we need, in the position. Like I just said, one of the best names since Dick Butkus. I think, it's just a great name, Kool-Aid. I think it's just fantastic. He was a 3-year starter at Alabama, and he also was a decent punt returner, averaged 11.3 yards per return. So, if he's available, if the Steelers pick him up, can maybe help with the punt return and even possible kick returner. So, I think it's definitely would be a great pickup for the Steelers.
Okay, I went with Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. He's got a grade of a first to second round pick, 25th overall on Brugler's list. The elephant in the room. He's a white boy.
Yeah.
He's a white quarterback. I felt like if I didn't mention him, that I would be I would no longer be invited back to the barbecue. Do we call it barbecue for white people? Is that what we call it, or is it a?
Yeah, that's what we call it. Yeah.
Is it the picnic? We call it the picnic. Either way, I don't think I'd be invited back if I did not mention Cooper DeJean. But joking aside, he's got the measurables. He's got the athleticism.
Yeah.
This is not a charity pick. And on top of that, he's got versatility. He's a return man. He's a gunner on special teams. He'll be a cornerback for you. It could be a nickel. It could be a safety. If things fail at corner, you can move him to safety if you have to. There's something there. Cooper DeJean couldn't not pick him. Had to do it. He's my guy.
We got a guest here. Johnny Moe. That's the bullshit buzzer. Anytime you hear bullshit, you ring the buzzer.
We almost made it through. We almost made it through. We were so close.
right
Oh
God.
But no, Cooper DeJean has all the measurables. He has all the athleticism.
Yeah.
Let's move to mid-round options here. I'll go first here. I went with DJ James out of Auburn. Grade was a 3rd to 4th rounder, 92 overall. Tons of experience. He started his career in Oregon. Then in total he had 33 starts, 56 career games. 56 career games this guy's played. He's coming to the league with experience. His one back is thin, little undersized build, so he's probably gonna end up being a nickel guy. But I like the idea. He's been in the Pac-12. He's been in the SEC, 2 different conferences with a lot of different styles of offense that he's seen in his career. I like that for a guy you're going to take 3rd, 4th round's not a flyer, but a guy where you're not expecting a star. But I think this is the kind of guy that can come in here and have a solid role with the team. But who do you got? Who do you got here?
I went with Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky. He's graded 2nd and 3rd round, at number 61 overall. He's a guy that has experience of playing both inside and outside cornerback. I think if you need him in the slot or you need him on the outside, I think he'd be a great pickup for the Steelers. He's got 2 years as a starter, but he's played 4 years in total at Kentucky. It definitely shows that he has some longevity as well that can definitely play a long time. I think that this is definitely a position that the Steelers need to look at getting somebody that can, just, play a little bit of, both sides, inside, outside, even, if he's available for the nickel and safety as well. I think you need a guy that's going to be in a role like this that's able to, help out and move around on the defensive side to help the Steelers defense out. So I think if he's available, maybe with that third round pick, maybe you go with a guy like him.
Yeah, another name I think is solid there. I like what you had to say about him. I think, like I said at the beginning, one of these names that we've mentioned, one of these names that we've listed at least, are going to be the first round pick for the Steelers. A couple of these guys are going to be later round picks for the Steelers.
Yeah.
I like the names we got on these lists. I think we've got good pitches. But now I want us to go and take some flyers here. Let's see if we can pick some late round guys and we can predict from the positions we talked about someone that might fall into the Steelers' lap. Maybe they get lucky and one of these players turns into a star. But let's look at some late round flyers. We're talking fourth round or later. How about I'll run through mine and then you run through yours. You don't have to go into too much detail, and we don't have to bounce back and forth between center and
okay.
So at center, I went with Matt Lee. He started his career at UCF and then he went to Miami. It looked like he had a lot of experience. So he was a name that did flash for me when I was scrolling through these lists. And Matt Lee, center from Miami, is the first one. Next, I went with offensive tackle. I didn't even look at the list to see any other names. I went with Matt Gonzalez, longtime starter at Pitt. I got to watch him. I think he's a guy who might even go up on boards and maybe doesn't even last the fourth round. I think he's had a lot of experience as a starter throughout his career. As a Pitt fit, he came out like pretty much out of nowhere and started getting reps early in his career, like either redshirt freshman, sophomore year. He was already getting on there, and then he had a lot of time and a lot of good starts. Played for some winning teams, played for some losing teams, but definitely had the experience here. Wide receivers, I couldn't pass up Luke McCaffrey. He was the youngest son of Ed McCaffrey, brother of Christian McCaffrey. He's coming out of Rice. I was looking at that list. There were so many receivers on that list. I went, fuck it. I'm going to go with McCaffrey. Got some lineage there. Interior defensive lineman, I went with Tyler Davis out of Clemson. 52 career starts.
Wow.
From what I was reading, he seems to not be a guy who's going to be very flashy, but that's a lot of experience for a team at a school that I really respect their defensive line coaching. They've had tons of first rounders. They've had tons of guys that have gone through that program. Maybe it's a little less the last few years as Brent Venables has moved on. That does change a little bit of the things, but it's still a great program in Clemson. And then I went back to Pitt again for MJ Demishire, cornerback. Very long. His arms are, I don't know exactly what the size, but they have to. It's one of the biggest wingspans I've seen in a quarterback in a long time. Joey Porter Jr. is probably one guy who might be ahead of him, but like he's a very similar like build, not as good obviously, but he's got athleticism, and I think he's a guy that is definitely an interesting pick for whoever gets him late in the draft.
Yeah. The guys I went with for center, I went with Drake Nugent out of Michigan. From what I saw, he's definitely got some experience as a center. Definitely could be a guy that, we bring in the late round, but I do feel as though that the Steelers are going to get somebody earlier with center. For offensive tackle, I went with Mike Jarrell out of Findlay. I think the reason I kind of went with that is Findlay's not really a big name school. And you a lot of these players that are in the late round that are definitely standout players that you just don't notice. And I think out of that list, I think he's a guy that may be underrated and may go unnoticed. So, maybe if, they need another tackle in the draft, I think maybe this could be a guy they go for and pick. I went with, for wide receiver, I went with Jordan Whittington. Again, another guy out of Texas. I think Texas definitely, again, they had a great season this past college season, and I think they definitely have a lot of guys that are coming into this draft that are going to be available. I don't think he's a top or mid-round option, but again, this could be a guy that the Steelers pick up later on in the draft. again, the Steelers, when it comes to wide receivers, are one of the best. We've talked about it. For interior defensive linemen, I went with Justin Rogers out of Auburn. Auburn's definitely another one of those bigger name schools. I think this could be a guy that could definitely come in and help, you know, in the late round, that we pick up that can kind of help on the defensive side. And then the last guy I went with was Daquan Hardy, cornerback out of Penn State. Could be another guy alongside Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. Not saying he's up there in that level, but he's definitely a late round pick. I think it could be also somebody that the Steelers can pick up to help out on the defensive side as well.
Yeah, Hardy's definitely an interesting game there. I like that one too. But there we go. That's our draft preview.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. I think next week we'll run through some mock drafts and have some fun with that, I guess. And then other than that, I heard you got one more shout out for this week. What you got?
Got a couple real quick.
Oh, a couple more. Okay.
Want to give a shout out to Sidney Crosby getting 1,000 assists.
Yeah.
The Penguins are playing right now. Benny, what's the score?
4-2 Bruins.
The score is 4-2 Bruins. What period? Second? End of second period. The Penguins are down. They're 1 point out of that final wild card spot. They're losing to the Bruins 4-2 right now. But I want to give a shout out to Sidney Crosby, 1,000 assists. And for the Penguins, they're still in the fight. Who knows? They may make the playoffs.
Yeah. We might have to talk about them.
And then one last shout out to Mr. Tiger Woods himself, who made his 24th consecutive cut at the Masters this weekend. He ended up withdrawing because of, I think, some pain issues, but he was definitely doing very good in the first round, and he was still in there in the second round until he withdrew. But shout out to him. I don't know if we'll ever get the Tiger Woods of old. But when he did play, he was definitely one of the greats. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those two guys right there.
Yeah, I like those two shout outs. Tiger Woods, legend.
Yeah.
We might be at the end there though.
Yeah, we might be. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe he goes to the senior tour and just destroys
them
a little bit. Yeah. Can do that. Sidney Crosby, what else did I say? 10th all time in points. Yeah. Amazing player, having a great year. 40 goals. Hopefully they can make it into the playoffs. I don't talk a lot of Pens on here because I don't know a lot of Pens, so I'm not going to try to bullshit anyone into thinking I know what I'm talking about.
But they may make the playoffs. We may be talking
we got to. No, not even. We have to. We have to talk about them if they make the playoffs. You're going to force it on us.
Yeah.
But that's all for this week.
Yeah.
And the Pittsburgh Sports Saviors, we're signing off. Lee, I'll see you.
Have a good one.
You too, man. I'll see you.
Yep.